Please call me by my true name so I can hear all my cries and all my laughter at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one.
Wow. Those are striking words, aren't they, from Thich Nhat Hanh?
They really are, and they resonate with this kind of um, radical wisdom that feels just incredibly vital right now, as our world navigates these huge challenges.
Absolutely. It's a truth that Joanna Macy, the pioneering eco-philosopher and Buddhist scholar we're diving into today, really embodied throughout her extraordinary life. So welcome, curious listeners, to the deep dive.
And our mission today is, well, it's custom tailored for you. We'll be digging into Joanna Macy's work, her extensive body of work, pulling out the most impactful nuggets of knowledge, the most profound insights.
Right.
And our focus is really squarely on how her timeless wisdom is exceptionally relevant for you and for future generations, especially as you grapple with these immense challenges, local, regional, global, that lie ahead.
Yeah, it's not just about like understanding the problems, is it? No, exactly. It's about finding meaning,
Yeah.
fostering connection and discovering a tangible path to action amidst times that can feel, let's be honest, pretty daunting.
Definitely daunting. And Joanna Macy, she really was a legend, a truly remarkable figure who, even at 92, had been observing for decades what she called the Great Unraveling.
Mhm.
The alarming collapse of ecosystems, the fabric of our societies maybe fraying. Her life's dedication was pretty singular, helping people navigate that often overwhelming despair that comes with seeing all this.
Right.
And crucially, helping them find a constructive way forward, something that moves beyond just being paralyzed by it all.
Yeah, in our deep dive today, it draws really extensively from some fascinating conversations and her key writings. These sources explore her deep connection to Buddhist teachings, her own very personal journey through ecological grief, and her enduring, incredibly relevant message of hope and, importantly, engaged action for our shared planet. This isn't just theory, right? It's meant to be a practical, heartfelt guide for how you could actually live with presence and purpose in these complex times.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with what Joanna Macy called the Great Unraveling, and maybe unexpectedly, the transformative power of shared grief. It's genuinely astonishing to think that Macy foresaw the ecological crisis we're all talking about now decades ago.
Decades ago.
And it wasn't just an intellectual prediction, was it? She was feeling it deeply, viscerally.
That's exactly it. Her own sort of personal moment of realization. It hit her with this profound force about 50 years back. She talked about it happening after attending this full-day symposium,
Right.
an exhaustive dive into all the accumulating threats to our biosphere. She'd taken in the information intellectually, piece by piece, but by the end of that long, tiring day, something just shifted fundamentally.
How does she describe it?
It was like, in her words, all the information I had up in my brain, the scaffolding that held it up here, gave way. The abstract just became immediate, visceral.
And when that intellectual scaffolding collapsed, it wasn't just, oh, I understand this better now. It was more than that.
Oh, much more. She vividly described how all that information turned into heartbreaking reality, invading my chest, mainly, but my whole body. The stark truth just hit her with this undeniable force. We are destroying our world.
Wow. Can you imagine that visceral, all-encompassing realization hitting you, not just as a fact in a book, but as a felt experience invading every fiber of your being? What would that feel like, carrying that truth?
Well, it was this profound internal upheaval, and her initial reaction immediately was just silence. For months, maybe even the first year after that devastating realization hit, she just found herself unable to speak about it.
Why? What was the fear?
She feared she'd poison other people's lives with this overwhelming truth. And even more, and this is really crucial, she didn't want people to argue with me or cheer me up.
Uh-huh.
Because she knew deep down that it was true. It was this unvarnished, undeniable reality she felt she had to carry alone. At first, in a world that maybe wasn't ready to hear it.
And that resonates, doesn't it? That feeling of isolation when you grasp these huge global realities, seeing what others maybe don't or can't acknowledge yet.
Totally. It's a very common experience. But then came this pivotal moment, really transformative, and it offers so much insight for anyone feeling isolated by the weight of these global challenges.
What happened?
She was leading a group, university faculty, at a conference. And instead of going into their academic credentials or, professional roles, she invited them to share something deeply personal.
Oh, okay.
She asked them to share a moment when the crisis of this planet, this living planet, touched you personally in your life. It was a radical invitation, really shifting the focus from intellectual stuff to shared human vulnerability.
That takes courage, both to ask and to answer.
Absolutely. And that moment, as Macy remembered it, it fundamentally changed the trajectory of her life and her work. Listening intently as one accomplished person after another spoke of their own comparable, deeply personal moments of realization, feeling the planet's suffering, she had this profound epiphany.
Which was,
We can talk about it. That was it. We can talk about this and not feel condemned to be the sole carriers of this grief.
yeah.
It wasn't just her carrying this immense burden alone. The grief, the sorrow, the fear, it was shared. That collective acknowledgement just shattered the illusion of individual isolation.
And here's where it gets really fascinating, and I think incredibly instructive for how you can navigate today's world. As soon as that shared vulnerability emerged, Macy noticed this dramatic shift in the group.
Yeah.
Everyone changed or became activated. It was like shaking up the solution that had been sitting there stagnant. They were suddenly so full of laughter and so full of creativity and initiative. They felt made whole, she said. As if they had walked out of a very small little house where we were keeping ourselves contained, walking out into a great meadow. Imagine that feeling, that release, that sudden burst of collective energy and shared humanity, renewed purpose.
That's incredible. It's such a powerful illustration of how sharing the truth, even painful truth, can liberate and energize us rather than crushing us.
Exactly. And what's deeply insightful here is Macy's profound understanding that grief and joy aren't mutually exclusive. They can, and she argued they often must, co-inhabit.
Right. It's not either.
No. She spoke about maintaining this great appetite for life, loving hiking in nature, the thrill of skiing, the simple pleasure of cooking a great meal, and how the zest for life can exist right alongside deep sorrow for the world. Both are profoundly present in an engaged life.
And that's such a critical point, especially maybe for younger generations who might feel that embracing the world's pain means sacrificing their own joy, their ability to live fully.
She actually explained that this radical openness to pain, this willingness to not constantly shield yourself from difficult truths, paradoxically allows immense love and immense joy to pour through you. It leads to this feeling of being very alive.
So the vulnerability actually opens you up.
That's the insight, yeah. And this is incredibly relevant for you listening today. Macy's radical idea isn't just that grief and joy can coexist, but that your willingness to fully inhabit your sorrow for the world actually becomes the very compost for profound joy and action.
Compost, I like that metaphor.
It's like an alchemical process,
Yeah.
right? You stop fighting the pain, you stop resisting it, and in doing so, you free up all this energy that was previously spent on just holding it back. And that energy can then be channeled into creativity, connection, action.
So it's not just about processing emotions, it's strategic.
Exactly. It's a strategic unlocking of personal and collective power. By acknowledging these difficult realities, by truly embracing your pain for the world, you can actually open yourself up to deeper connection, greater vulnerability, and a much richer experience of being alive, rather than just shutting down or numbing out.
Okay, so that power of shared grief is huge. Now let's explore the profound influence of Thich Nhat Hanh TNH, as he was often called, on Joanna Macy's work, especially his concept of interbeing.
Right. Their relationship started in the early 80s, but his importance to her, what he sort of represented and embodied, was huge long before they even met in person, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. She saw in him a living embodiment of the path she was seeking. She spoke of how TNH brought what she had always yearned to see, this reciprocal enrichment of the Buddha's timeless teachings and a life fully dedicated to justice, to the well-being of our shared planet.
And she had this long connection to Vietnam already, right?
Yeah. Yeah, her heart and mind have been deeply focused on Vietnam since 1950. She wrote her thesis on the struggle under French colonial rule and what she saw as the betrayal of agreements with Ho Chi Minh. So this long-standing connection to suffering and liberation kind of prepared her ground for TNH's message.
So when she learned about his work,
Exactly. When she learned about TNH's School for Social Service in Vietnam, this organization training Buddhist monastics to go into villages, rebuild, care for people suffering during the war, she was, in her words, just amazed.
I can imagine.
And his book, Lotus in a Sea of Fire, which documented this whole engaged Buddhist movement in Vietnam, became more than just inspiration for her. It was like a teaching and action guide, embodying what she called the Bodhisattva heart.
Okay, let's define that. What is this Bodhisattva heart that Macy found so compelling, so essential?
She described it as a heart that can open to and be with the pain, one that is not afraid of suffering, And this openness, paradoxically, isn't about being a martyr or anything. It's about courageously allowing that suffering in because that very act lets you learn about your own inner immensity.
So suffering becomes a gateway.
Yeah, exactly. Seeing suffering not as a block, but as a doorway to a deeper, more expansive self, one capable of great love and great action. And for young people today, this means finding power in empathy, even when facing overwhelming situations. It's not about being crushed by it, but expanded by it.
And her first actual encounter with TNH.
It was the 1982 UN Special Session on Disarmament. Quite a setting. Amidst all the pomp and circumstance, the big political speeches, he just walked onto the stage. A slight figure in a brown coat, she said. So simply, so humbly, as if he were coming in to empty the waste paper basket or something, utterly without pretense. And then, in that quiet, unassuming presence, he reached into his pocket and just said, I wrote a poem on my way here. Maybe I'll just read the poem. And it was Call Me by My True Names.
Wow. And that poem, it's still incredibly powerful today. It really illustrates that radical interconnectedness, that non-duality, doesn't it? Pulls no punches.
No punches at all. It's stark, almost unsettling in its honesty about our shared existence. It immediately brings these stark contrasts into direct, undeniable relation, forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths about life and death, predator and prey.
Like the mayfly and the bird.
Exactly. I am the mayfly metamorphosizing on the surface of the river, and I am the bird that swoops down to swallow the mayfly.
Yeah.
Or, I am the frog swimming happily in the clear water of a pond, and I am the grass snake that silently feeds itself on the frog. These lines aren't just pretty words, they're a direct challenge to our usual way of thinking, our dualistic thinking. They ask us to see ourselves in every part of the cycle of life, however difficult or brutal it seems.
And he extends that same radical interconnectedness to human suffering and conflict, which makes it even more potent, I think.
Absolutely. He writes, I am the child in Uganda, all skin and bones, and I am the arms merchant selling deadly weapons to Uganda. Or, even more personally, I am the 12-year-old girl refugee who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate, and I am the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving.
It's breathtaking, really. He even includes the oppressor and the oppressed in the same breath.
He does. I am a member of the Politburo with plenty of power in my hands, and I am the man who has to pay his debt of blood to my people dying slowly in a forced labor camp. These lines demand that we acknowledge our shared humanity, even with those we find, frankly, abhorrent, recognizing the potential for both immense suffering and terrible cruelty within all of us.
That's critical, isn't it? Especially for young people grappling with global injustices, it complicates that easy them versus us narrative.
Completely. And hearing this poem in that moment, 1982, with the nuclear arms race intensifying under Reagan, it powerfully encapsulated how joy and pain aren't separate. They are ultimately one. And the urgent, absolute need for compassion to truly wake up to this reality.
Yeah.
TNH's message, as Macy felt it deep down, was that of a warrior teacher asking us to take everyone into our hearts, friend, foe, victim, perpetrator, because that is our true names. It's this radical invitation to expand our identity to encompass all of life, and in doing that, finding our true strength.
Macy also found TNH's work helpful in another way, didn't she? In understanding Buddhist concepts that had felt a bit awkward before.
Yes, she was immensely grateful for that. She'd focused deeply on pratitya samuppada, arising that core Buddhist idea that nothing exists in isolation, everything arises in relationship.
Right, interdependence.
Exactly. But she found the word empty, or shunyata, as it's used in some Zen traditions, didn't quite capture the profound sense of belonging and deep linkage she felt. For her, the idea of things being empty of separate self initially sounded a bit, well, nihilistic maybe, or at least very abstract.
Okay, I can see that.
So TNH's concept of interbeing, literally, I am because you are because I am, offered a much more positive, tangible, and emotionally resonant way to express this interdependence.
It makes it more relational.
Precisely. He taught it in such imaginative, accessible ways, which Macy felt was hugely important for the Buddhist movement globally. It made that abstract concept of emptiness, which really means empty of a separate self, not just a void, far more accessible, more relatable to our lived experience, helping people grasp that their very existence is just inextricably linked to everything else.
And that concept offers such a powerful antidote to the isolation and extreme individualism that often plague modern societies, suggesting our deepest well-being is tied up with the well-being of everyone, everything else.
Absolutely. And the power of TNH's simplicity, his directness, is also really striking. Macy said he made the Dharma feel like the air we breathe, helping us become more alive. It It wasn't about complex intellectual hoops. It was about a lived reality, something essential that helps you feel fully present, deeply connected to life, to your own breath.
You mentioned your own experience meeting him.
Yes, I was only 9 when I first encountered him, attending Dharma talks with my family at Plum Village. And while, my 9-year-old brain couldn't grasp the full intellectual depth of everything,
Sure.
I never, ever forgot his presence. It was just so stable, so virtuous, utterly without ego. Like that invisible breath Macy mentioned. This simplicity, this lack of adornment, this profound groundedness. It's a quality I still aspire to develop in myself today. It really shows how deep spiritual understanding doesn't need complexity. It can be right there, the simplest acts, the simplest presence.
You shared a story about that presence in action in the meditation hall
Yeah.
when you were trying to clear a path for him.
Ah, yes. I was a very naive and energetic 14-year-old attendant then,
Mm.
eager to serve, make sure everything ran smoothly, probably a bit too eager. We were walking through the meditation hall after a ceremony, and there was a natural bottleneck of people.
Okay.
Without really thinking, I started kind of gently pushing people aside, trying to create a clear path for him. And I felt him gently pull me back by my robe, just give me this silent, gentle gesture that it was okay. I didn't need to do that, didn't need to force it.
And then what happened?
Then, as he just approached the bottleneck, simply by his quiet presence, no words, no pushing the path, just naturally opened up for him.
Wow, that's incredible. It really speaks volumes about the power of simple presence, doesn't it? Without words, without ego. Suggests that sometimes our attempts to control or force things can actually get in the way.
Exactly. It was such a profound teaching moment for it, just in that instant. It showed me that sometimes just your profound presence, without needing words, without exerting force, can manifest the situation exactly as you wish it to be.
Mm-hmm.
Simplicity and presence. Incredibly beautiful, incredibly effective teachings embodied entirely through his Dharma body.
Yeah.
It taught me that, energetic, somewhat frantic young man, the immense power of stillness and trust over frantic, ego-driven action. And that lesson feels invaluable for young people today who often feel this intense pressure to constantly do something, to force solutions, when sometimes cultivating that inner calm, that presence, is actually the most powerful action you can take.
Okay, let's turn now to something that weighs really heavily on many young people today. That widespread despair about the future. The eco-anxiety, the existential dread, sometimes leading to deep concerns about even having children in a world facing potential collapse. Joanna Macy had a really powerful, maybe counterintuitive message for them.
She did. Her core teaching, distilled with this radical simplicity, especially for young people struggling with this, was do not be afraid of your pain.
Just straight up, don't be afraid.
Yeah. Do not be afraid of your pain for the world. Do not be afraid of the suffering, but take it. Embrace it. She argued that this very act, this courageous willingness to fully inhabit your sorrow, which is characteristic of a bodhisattva, makes your heart very big.
How so?
It transforms what feels overwhelming and crushing into a source of inner immensity, resilience, compassion. It's a radical shift from our usual instinct, which is to numb out or escape painful realities.
She used an example, didn't she? A bodhisattva figure.
Yes, the powerful example of Bodhisattva Kittigarbha, the symbolic embodiment of boundless compassion in Buddhist tradition. Kittigarbha had such immense, unwavering compassion that he would willingly go down to the deepest layers of hell just to hear the mourning of people in anguish, to truly be with their suffering.
Wow.
But, and this is crucial, he also understood birdsong. He could be happy with it, find joy in the simple wonders of the natural world. The key, Macy stressed, is to cultivate the capacity to embrace all of life, its beauty and its suffering, its joys and its sorrows, without fear, without picking and choosing which parts you allow yourself to feel.
So the real trap is trying to edit our experience.
Exactly. She emphasized that the only real trap, the only thing to truly watch out for, is if we pick and choose what parts of life we're willing to engage with or feel. As that profound poem of the fifth patriarchy says, life is only difficult for those who pick and choose.
Right.
When we resist, when we try to shield ourselves from the difficult stuff, we fragment ourselves. But when you just take it all as it comes, the joy, the pain, comfort, discomfort, that openness, helps you feel whole. It's about accepting the full, messy, glorious spectrum of existence, not just the easy bits, and recognizing that our wholeness includes our capacity for both deep sorrow and profound connection.
This radical acceptance, embracing the full spectrum, ties deeply into the power of sadness and grief itself, doesn't it? You mentioned Rilke's poetry influenced her here.
Profoundly, Rainer Maria Rilke offered this contemplative framework for understanding suffering. In his 10th elegy, Rilke advises us not to squander our sorrows, seeing them not as burdens to get rid of, but as precious, integral parts of our growth.
How did you put it?
He calls them our winter foliage, our darker mind green, or one of the seasons of our inward year. He even elevates sorrow to a place, settlement, site, base, and dwelling, a significant inner landscape to be explored, not avoided. It's such a powerful counter-narrative to our culture that constantly tells us to fix or get over our sadness, right?
Totally. Find the silver lining immediately.
Right. But Rilke's words here, they offer both deep comfort and profound challenge. They guide us into the heart of transformation. Quiet friend who has come so far, feel how your breathing makes more space around you. Let this darkness be a bell tower, and you the bell. And as you ring, what batters you becomes your strength.
What batters you becomes your strength. That's powerful.
It is. And it's not about passive acceptance, just enduring the pain. It's an active, curious engagement with it. It suggests that the very things that seem to shatter us, when met with presence and awareness, can actually become the source of our deepest power. It's about allowing ourselves to be fully wrung, fully vibrated by life's challenges.
So when life batters you, as Rilke puts it, when you find yourself in these moments of profound difficulty, Rilke and Macy suggest you realize you're made for change.
Exactly. And this is where Macy connects to that idea of positive disintegration.
Mm.
It's a concept from a Polish psychiatrist, Kazimierz Dabrowski. It's not about collapsing into chaos, but a necessary shedding, like a snake shedding its old, tight skin to allow for new growth.
Oh.
It's a painful, yes, but vital process of outgrowing these limited self-concepts that just can't hold the immensity of the global challenges we face. It allows us to step into a larger, more capable self, one equipped for the scale of our times. And this process, she noted, is absolutely essential for life's continuity on the planet, helping us shed what no longer serves our highest purpose or the greater good.
And this links back to Buddhist principles too, right? Joy and suffering being interdependent.
Fundamentally, they're not separate. They're two sides of the same coin of existence. The first noble truth in Buddhism is precisely this: to recognize, identify, and accept suffering as an inherent part of life.
But we resist that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
As humans, we often succumb to this deep-seated selfishness, this craving for comfort, leading us to instinctively push away suffering, deny it, numb ourselves to it. And ironically, that very aversion to pain is one of the most fundamental root causes of our problems, both individually and collectively. It prevents us from truly seeing and addressing the origins of suffering.
And through that lens of inner being we talked about, the truth of shared suffering becomes undeniable. That suffering is also your suffering.
Exactly. The planet's well-being is our own. We aren't separate observers. We're deeply embedded. That's why TNH introduced the Bodhisattva Gaya, a powerful metaphor for Mother Earth. His teaching encourages us to fall back in love with Mother Earth so we can truly hear her cries as our own wounds.
And that helps find balance amidst despair.
Yes, because that recognition fosters a sense of personal responsibility that isn't burdensome, but empowering. It springs from love and connection, not obligation.
TNH used another metaphor too, the ship in the storm.
Yes, a potent one. If everyone on a ship in a storm panics, if fear takes over, the ship will surely capsize. But if even a few can remain calm and mindful, recognizing that we are still alive, therefore anything is still possible, then the situation, however dire, can potentially be navigated.
And that's an ancient teaching.
Over 2,600 years old, yeah. And still incredibly relevant for anyone facing overwhelming challenges today, personal, societal, global. It reminds us that embracing suffering, facing it directly with mindfulness, actually fosters insight and unlocks profound love. Maitreya, the Buddha of great love, represents those future possibilities. This deep engagement with reality rather than avoidance is what truly leads to transformation.
Okay, let's shift slightly and delve into what Joanna Macy calls radical attention and the critical, often uncomfortable need for truth-telling. In her book, World is Lover, World is Self, she introduces this idea of entering the bardo.
Right. She describes our current global situation as exactly that, a space without a map. A transitional gap between known worlds that are passing away and new ones not yet fully formed. It's frightening, this uncertainty, yes, but she insists it's also a place brimming with potential transformation.
That's a hopeful reframe, especially for young people feeling lost in an uncertain future.
It really is. And within this bardo, she says, facing you is the powerful figure of the Buddha Akshabir. His gift is mirror wisdom. He holds up a mirror not to judge, but simply to reflect everything just as it is, without distortion, without softening the edges.
And his teaching.
Simple, direct, profoundly challenging. Do not look away, do not avert your gaze, do not turn aside. It calls for nothing less than radical attention and total acceptance, an unflinching willingness to see things precisely as they are, no matter how uncomfortable. It's about cultivating a clarity that dissolves our delusions.
Macy talked about how this mirror wisdom, this commitment to radical attention, brought graphic reality for her, especially in the American context. It starkly revealed things our culture, our political systems often don't want to see.
Yes, things actively hidden or ignored. She gave some powerful, deeply uncomfortable examples of truths that were suppressed until a crisis forced them into public view. Well, she pointed with such compassionate clarity to the plight of seniors in nursing homes during the pandemic who were beginning to die, often isolated, forgotten. She spoke of the huge epidemic scales in the prisons, where we basically warehouse people we want out of sight, out of mind.
Hmm.
And she powerfully highlighted the hidden, often brutal conditions and the immense human costs in the meatpacking industry. Often undocumented workers laboring in exploitative conditions to process the animals we consume, a process most of us definitely don't want to see up close. These were profound examples of our collective blind spots.
These were the uncomfortable truths our culture had chosen not to see, right? Not fully acknowledge, but crisis forced them out.
Exactly. And Macy's belief, which aligns so deeply with the Buddha Dharma, is that what we can open our heart-mind to fully is what we most need and is the grounds for transformation.
Hmm.
It's a fundamental principle, really, in every spiritual tradition. Choosing to be radically present to reality, no matter how difficult, is precisely where the path to genuine change begins. It's an act of courage that unlocks immense potential.
But it's hard because, as she pointed out, we live in such a profoundly distracted culture.
Oh, incredibly distracted. Western society, in many ways, seems meticulously built on avoiding suffering, avoiding seeing the difficult realities. There are just countless ways we distract ourselves. Endless amusement, sensationalized terror, even seemingly wholesome things that become diversions from just your sheer presence to life.
Yeah, filling every quiet moment.
Exactly. Filling every uncomfortable space with noise and activity simply to avoid being truly present to what is. And this creates a deeply fragmented inner landscape, doesn't it? Especially for young people growing up with constant digital stimulation demanding their attention.
This leads right into a teaching that feels particularly relevant for the digital age, TNH's ethical training on consumption. He broadened that idea way beyond just food or movies, didn't he?
He did. He broadened it to include the consumption of consciousness. Everything we take in through our eyes, our ears, our thoughts, our senses, even our ways of being together, the conversations we have, the energy we absorb, it means being mindful of what we let into our minds just as much as what we put into our bodies.
And you found consumption is a two-way street.
Absolutely. My experience really showed me it's reciprocal.
Mm.
What we take in through our senses, through our minds, deeply affects who we become, how we feel, how we see the world, and then in turn, what we consume influences what we offer back to others, how we show up.
Can you give an example?
Sure. If you constantly consume, say, dreadful news cycles, or engage in really angry, divisive conversations online, or just expose yourself to sounds and images that constantly trigger fear and despair within you, that inevitably becomes part of your inner landscape. It shapes you.
Right.
So being profoundly mindful of what you consume, the news you follow, the conversations you have, social media you engage with, even who you choose to spend time with, is absolutely essential, not just for your own self-care and mental well-being, but for genuinely contributing peace, clarity, and understanding to the world around you. It's a crucial practice for navigating the relentless information flow today.
It's also really important, though, to address the challenge of people sometimes using spirituality or spiritual practice itself as an avoidance mechanism. We see that, right?
Oh, definitely. It's a common pitfall. People might perform all the outward actions of a spiritual path, meditating, attending talks, chanting, but underneath, it can be a subtle, maybe unconscious way to hide from difficult realities, personal pain, or the world's suffering.
It becomes another form of distraction.
Exactly. Rather than a path to genuine engagement. My approach, which I learned directly from TNH's example, is to gently help people touch suffering inside of them. Everyone carries layers of suffering, personal grief, unfulfilled desires, anxieties. By courageously turning toward that inner suffering with awareness instead of away from it, we connect.
How does that connection happen?
It connects us to others through shared human experience. It dissolves that illusion of separation and fosters genuine compassion, not just for ourselves, but for all beings. When suffering is truly touched this way, then practices like meditation and awareness are no longer tools for avoidance.
They become something else.
Yes. They help us see clear, embrace truth in its raw form, and paradoxically, learn to smile to life even in moments of profound distress. This authentic engagement with suffering, this radical presence, is what truly leads to genuine, lasting transformation. It's about finding the inner strength to meet what is, and from that strength, acting with love.
Let's explore Joanna Macy's radical take on impermanence now and the profound, often overlooked gift of the present moment. It's such a common human tendency, isn't it, especially for people who care deeply about the world, to get attached to a specific right outcome for the planet.
Oh, yeah. We envision this great turning, this successful transformation, and then there's this deep fear of a great collapse that might make all our efforts seem pointless, for nothing.
And that attachment can actually create more suffering, more paralysis.
Absolutely. Macy's radical perspective here, drawing straight from Buddhist wisdom, is that death itself is the great gift, the great mystery. That core Dharma teaching, death is certain, but the time of death is uncertain, is like a double whammy, as she put it.
A double whammy, how so?
Because this fundamental, unavoidable truth keeps us kind of on an edge of presence. It's not meant to make us fearful, but to sharpen our awareness, our appreciation for the sheer preciousness of this moment right now. If we knew exactly when our end was coming, or if we thought we had infinite time, we might just squander the present.
Yeah, makes sense. She had a thought experiment about living forever.
She did. What if you were to live forever? It'd be so boring, she'd say, with this knowing smile. Impermanence, with all its discomfort and uncertainty, is actually integral to the vibrancy of life itself. Our lives are precious, finite, ultimately on borrowed time, and this very awareness gives us the capacity to be fully present now. Because now is truly all we ever have.
Right. Otherwise, we just drift off.
Exactly. Into endless conjectures, distractions, amusements, missing the exquisite richness of the present moment unfolding right here.
This also connects to letting go of that feeling of indispensability, doesn't it? You mentioned some career advice you got.
Ah, yes, vividly. I was a young, highly stressed journalist working insane hours, totally convinced the world, or at least the newspaper, would collapse without my constant effort. A wise senior colleague saw my exhaustion and gently told me, "Joe, I'm going to give you one piece of advice. Know that the cemeteries of England are full of people who thought they were indispensable. Now go home and get some sleep."
That is simply the best advice. And it speaks so powerfully to that feeling many people have today, especially young activists, maybe feeling like I have to save the planet, as if the entire weight rests solely on their shoulders.
Yes, and that kind of burden, that feeling of individual indispensability, it creates immense suffering. And ironically, it can perpetuate the very problems it seeks to solve because it leads straight to burnout, paralysis, overwhelm. It's just not sustainable.
So Macy reframed impermanence.
She reframed it not as a limitation, but as a positive thing, a source of profound beauty. She'd quote Rilke again with such deep reverence. "Oh, impermanence, the fragrance of our days."
The fragrance of our days. Beautiful.
Isn't it? And this perspective doesn't suggest apathy or giving up on the future at all. Instead, it highlights that we only have this moment, this now, to truly experience the fullness of life, to sniff that fragrance, to breathe deeply, to wake up, to act. It's about engaging fully, but without attachment to a fixed outcome, engaging with profound commitment to the present effort.
And what was Joanna Macy's own aspiration late in life at 92?
It was remarkably simple, yet so profoundly resonant. "I want to love the things I've given a little more time." She spoke about reading through 50 years of her old journals, hoping to find anything beautiful, any little nugget of wisdom or connection worth sharing before, ultimately, letting them go. An act of deep reflection and letting go.
And the swing.
Ah, the swing. Mostly, she spoke of this simple rope swing in her backyard, like a hanging chair nestled among the trees. She envisioned visitors sitting beside her, just gently rocking in that quiet space, talking about the beautiful evanescence of life, how everything is always in motion, how we are like water flowing.
What a beautiful, poignant image. Just present moment acceptance, deep gratitude, the wisdom of simply being with the flow.
Exactly. A powerful lesson in finding peace amidst constant change.
It brings to mind that powerful quote from TNH you shared earlier from Brother Fapu. We all have an appointment, and that appointment is with life.
And touching that appointment in each and every moment, being fully present to it, truly recognizing it as the precious gift it is, that makes life infinitely more beautiful, more vibrant, more meaningful. It shifts our focus from anxiety about distant outcomes to the richness, the potential, the sheer beauty of the now. And for young people feeling overwhelmed, that's a profound reminder that life's meaning isn't just found in external achievements, but in the quality of attention we bring to each passing moment.
Let's explore another truly transformative concept from both Macy and Thich Nhat Hanh, Earth as Self, and the healing that comes from within that understanding. TNH's core teaching here is radical in its simplicity. We're not separated from the environment.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's profound. It's not just a philosophical idea. For him and for Macy, it's a lived truth, a fundamental shift in perception that changes absolutely everything. Well, the concept is that we are the Earth healing herself. We're not external humans trying to save the Earth from some outside detached position. It reframes our role entirely from separate rescuer to an intrinsic part of the Earth's own self-healing mechanism.
And mindfulness is key to experiencing that.
Yes, mindfulness becomes the very tool that connects us directly to the wonders of life, allowing us to experience this deep, non-dualistic truth firsthand. It's about feeling the pulse of the planet within our own bodies, recognizing its health as intrinsically our own.
This really challenges that dualistic thinking that's dominated for so long, right? That idea that we are separate from the environment, that it's just resources out there to be exploited or managed.
Exactly. It's precisely that mindset that fuels destruction and ecological degradation. The profound realization that the environment is you, that your body is literally made of Earth's elements, that your breath connects you to every living thing. That realization is enlightenment. It's a profound awakening.
And the consequence.
The consequence is inescapable. You will have to change your way of living. It's an immediate call to personal transformation because harming the Earth is quite literally harming yourself. There's no separation.
But this realization doesn't have to lead to guilt, does it?
No, quite the opposite. It fosters immense gratitude. Gratitude for our very breath, the air of the Earth flowing through us. Gratitude for our teachers who help us see this. Gratitude for our parents, recognizing we are their continuation and the continuation of all life before us. And profound gratitude for the environment itself, the source of our very being.
And that gratitude leads to action.
Yes, that holistic sense of gratitude naturally, organically, leads to mindful action that flows from love and interconnectedness,
Right.
rather than from obligation or external pressure. It becomes a deeply internal motivation for living sustainably.
Joanna Macy's own experience during the nuclear energy protests in the 70s really illustrates this generational interconnectedness, doesn't it?
Perfectly. She worked tirelessly, often, failing in the immediate political goal of stopping a specific project. But she felt good working with others, building community. More profoundly, though, through that work, she came to this chilling realization about the perpetual millennia-long impact of radioactive contamination.
So it wasn't just about the present.
Not at all. She understood, not just intellectually, but deep in her bones, that her life wasn't just linked to the present or her immediate community, but to those generations from now, indeed centuries, indeed millennia, who would inherit the consequences of what we do now.
Wow. She described feeling their presence.
She did. A tangible, almost physical feeling of future beings standing right behind her shoulder. Not as a burden, but as an urging, a silent plea to act. They were calling nuclear waste the poison fire, and reinforcing that undeniable truth. You're the one who's alive now. This is your time to make a difference. It's this invitation to feel a deep kinship with those yet to come and to act on their behalf.
That deep connection across time resonates so powerfully with those Rilke words Macy loved. We are one generation through thousands of years.
Mothers and fathers shaped by children to come, who in their turn will overtake them. We're endlessly offered into life. All time is ours. It's such a profound reminder that we're part of this unbroken lineage, and our actions ripple forward through time in ways we can barely imagine.
And this wisdom applies directly, urgently, to current challenges. She mentioned Fukushima specifically.
Yes, she would declare with such fire, now is our time to act. We can't sleepwalk through this one, darlings. That global call for action, like the scientist's letter to the UN demanding international organizations replace TEPCO, appoint independent advisory boards, ensure radical transparency. She saw that as a call for us to rise to the immensity of a challenge and truly become one people of Earth.
A recognition that some problems are just too vast for anything less than a unified global response.
Exactly. Transcending national interests, individual interests, recognizing our shared destiny on this planet.
Okay, finally, let's talk about the Shambhala warrior. This powerful ancient prophecy offering a unique vision of our tools for transformation in these challenging times.
Yes, this oral tradition, over 1,200 years old, was spoken to Joanna Macy by her teacher, Degutjil Rinpoche. It spoke of a time of great danger to Earth, when these warriors, imbued with the special spirit, would show up and willingly go into training to meet the challenges head-on.
But they don't wield conventional weapons.
No, not at all. The Shambhala warriors in this prophecy wield two essential interconnected weapons,
Mhm.
compassion and insight.
Okay, let's break those down. Compassion first.
Compassion is described as the fuel to act. It's that heartfelt willingness to not be afraid of the world's suffering, but to turn towards it, to engage with it. It's an incredibly powerful motivator, the engine for change. But, as Macy wisely notes, it's also very hot.
Hot, meaning.
Meaning, if it's not balanced, it can burn you out, lead to exhaustion, despair, compassion fatigue. It's the fuel, but it needs a cooling system.
And that cooling system is insight.
Precisely. Insight acts as the necessary counterpoint to the heat of compassion. And this insight is exactly that radical interdependence of all phenomena, the profound understanding that everything is connected.
How does that help?
This wisdom reveals it's not a simple battle of good guys versus bad guys, or a clear division between oppressors and victims. As Macy powerfully puts it, the line between good and evil runs through the landscape of every human heart. This insight asks us to look beyond simplistic blame, to see the systemic nature of our challenges, and recognize that even well-intentioned actions without this deep understanding of interconnection can have unintended negative repercussions.
So you need both, the fire and the coolness.
Absolutely essential, Macy emphasized. They must work in concert, the heat of the compassion tempered by the cool wisdom of insight, to sustain these warriors in their lifelong work for healing the world. And these aren't just ancient mystical concepts. They are gifts we can claim now, today, in our own lives.
So it's this balance, the passion to act, fueled by love, tempered by that clear-sighted understanding of how everything's interwoven that allows for sustained, effective action.
Exactly. Action without succumbing to burnout or simplistic judgments. It helps us navigate the sheer complexity of our time.
Macy often reflected on how this prophecy, this understanding of timeless human nature, made all other humans contemporaneous with her.
Yeah, from Charlemagne to Joan of Arc, from ancient peoples to future generations. Human nature, our capacity to choose, deceive, love, invent, grab for power, fundamentally, it hasn't changed that much. She spoke of populating her world with those who have loved it in their own ways throughout history, feeling their company, their shared journey, especially now in this moment of accelerated destruction.
So the ancestors can help us.
Yes, in the sense that this expansive intergenerational view shows that the ancestors can help us. Not literally, perhaps, but as this vast collective storehouse of wisdom, courage, resilience that we can tap into. It expands our sense of self, helps us know what is asked of us in this crucial time, which she felt was something quite big.
Right. Like you recalled from her workshop, realizing we're part of a great stream of life.
Exactly. Connecting ancestors and descendants, realizing the immense responsibility, but also the privilege of being alive and acting now. We're both beneficiaries and stewards of this continuous human story.
So as we conclude this deep dive into the extraordinary wisdom of Joanna Macy, let's hold on to her powerful prayer, that profound question she leaves for all of us, a vision of what's possible if we choose. All will come again into its strength, the fields undivided, the waters undammed, the trees towering and the walls built low, and in the valleys people as strong and varied as the land. Should we let that happen?
It's such a profoundly provocative question, isn't it? A call to agency, a call to love, a call to renewed commitment to life itself. We are just so immensely grateful for Joanna Macy's life's work, her boundless wisdom, the enduring inspiration she provided for living meaningfully, courageously, amidst the greatest challenges humanity has perhaps ever faced.
Though she's passed from this life, her legacy, these timeless teachings, they feel ever-present, vibrant, just waiting for us to embody them.
They really do.
To help you internalize these insights, Joanna Macy herself will now lead us in a brief guided meditation, inviting us to connect with the wisdom of the breath and a panasati mindfulness of breathing. Joanna Macy's voice from Source starts.
Okay, so let us breathe out all that has been preoccupying us so that we in this moment can be here. This moment is given to us. It's very fresh, it's very new, it hasn't happened before. And this breathing in hasn't happened before either. And this breathing out, infinitely precious, is this anapanasati, being breathed by life. Life that is breathing so many others. For some, it's their first breath. For some, it is their last breath. And we can experience the blessing of life itself at this moment. And for those of us here and at Plum Village and around the world, it brings such gratitude for our teacher, for his life, for this wisdom that is ever fresh to be discovered, afresh to be met, afresh each moment, each now. Thank you. Joanna Macy's voice from Source Ends.
Thank you, Joanna, for that profound guidance and for your wisdom that just continues to resonate and guide us.
And thank you, our listener, for joining us on this deep dive. May you carry these insights into your own life and continue to explore the richness that comes from embracing both joy and suffering, presence and radical attention.
Until next time, keep diving deep.